Hello everybody, karibu sana, karibu sana. Today I'm by myself with a beautiful lady right next to me. But before I introduce her, my name is Doringa Key. I work with the Afro Sheroes and this is the Afro Sheroes podcast, Karibuni Sana. So the lady next to me, guys, we have planned for this day for so long, and her finding time to just sit here with us. You guys, finding time. Right? Oh, but I'll let her introduce herself and then I can ask her some juicy questions.
Wow. Okay. My name is Marura Gishane. I'm a mother of 3. The other titles they're okay, but yeah, I think, can we just stop there?
We can stop there.
We can stop
We
there.
can
Okay.
stop there. All right, guys. So today we are on identity. Part 2, is it 3? So, Pastor Marura. Should I call it Pastor Marura?
Any.
Or just Marura?
As we flow.
As we flow.
Yeah.
All right.
Any.
So I'm going to take you way back.
Okay.
Way back. How was your childhood?
Wow. Hey, that's way back.
Yeah.
I am the firstborn of 6 siblings, and so it's like normal household where firstborns are.
Right.
You take up responsibilities.
Yeah.
You're pretty much like a second mom, you know. So I got in there with just taking care of 5 of them,
Right.
which of course a lot of drama at the same time,
Yeah.
laughter, mischievousness.
Right.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it. In my primary years, I think when I was in class 7, I was a bit rebellious with my mama. In fact, there was a time I remember telling her, "Don't be telling me what to do.
Right.
Just because if you tell me do this, I
Right.
will not do it. And if you tell me don't do it, I will do it." So yeah,
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So you have mentioned primary years.
Yes.
So how was your primary? And then also, I'd like to explain maybe on the identities you took while in primary. Since you're speaking about identity,
Yeah.
what identity do you think you picked up when you were in primary?
Okay. I picked up being a mom.
Oh,
yes, being a mom. The responsibility,
right.
the knowing that when they're not around, the house belonged to me. Had to make sure everyone was together.
Okay.
Everything was okay.
Right.
Yeah.
In primary.
In primary, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So the rebellion, where did it start? Is it in primary?
The rebellion began on class 7.
Class 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about?
It was very interesting because I think I just found like I didn't have time to be me. So every time I wanted to hang out with my friends,
Right.
it's always like you shouldn't hang out with them. You should be at home taking care of the siblings. Or if it's not taking care of the siblings, you should be responsible, making sure everything is in check. So there was a need for me to be me. Yes. And to find me because outside everyone else who are my friends were having fun. Yeah.
In primary?
In primary, yes.
And high school?
High school, the Holy Spirit captured me from 1.
Oh!
From 1.
Is that when you got born again?
Yes, I got born again from 1. And I'll tell you, I always say that the Holy Spirit was he's so amazing because he captured me, because I'm telling you the truth. If he didn't, I would have been worse.
Yeah.
Yes, it would have been worse. Yeah.
So from 1 you were born again.
Yes.
Jamani, what was I doing from 1?
Can you imagine? From 1 he captured me. February 7, 1991.
So for you, was your identity in Christ? Did you figure it out then?
No, it wasn't. No,
Yeah?
no, I did not.
Right.
The minute I got born again, I grew up in a family that there was nothing about God. My father used to just take us to church,
Right.
drop us,
Right.
and then we have to come back and tell him what we've learned, while him is at home in bed
Right.
with my mom.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about God. I didn't know anything about. I just gave my life to God, and it was me having to learn Him on my own. Yes, and pretty much see you how people were behaving.
Is that
How I would copy. I'm like, this is how a Christian behaves.
Oh,
yes. And then my desk mate at that time was the deputy chair lady of CU. So I would see, okay, so this is the time you read the word. So this is the time you pray. So this is yes.
Right. Yeah. So even while in high school, were you rebellious, or the rebellion ended in primary?
The rebellion ended in primary. Yes. So in high school, I became focused in knowing about God. Yes.
Yeah, I wish we were like
yeah.
in high school.
But it wasn't me. Remember, I told you it's the Holy Spirit who captured me.
So you actually knew it was the Holy Spirit.
I didn't know about the Holy Spirit.
Right.
I just knew it was God.
It was God. Yeah.
I just knew God somehow.
Yeah.
Not that I had Him, not that He was. There was just this need of. So when I got born again, I just asked for 3 things to know that He's truly God. So I guess that made me like continue serving Him, because these 3 things needed to be first accomplished, so I can know, is He there for me to continue, or does He not exist, so that now we just
go back to our rebellious ways. Wow. So uni is where now I know where all the challenges come in, even when you're born again.
Let's not even go to uni. Let's go to finish Form 4.
Right.
And you have this gap.
Yes.
And so in this gap, my father decides to take me for, those days it's computer.
ICT, driving,
computer,
all those.
So in this computer class, I come out, and we used to live in Gara.
Right.
So now it's not, no, that was not Gara. By that time it was Pangani. So the number 9 and number 6. So Mimi, Uyo, finish class.
Right.
Of course, those things never used to bother me.
Right.
I would enter number 6, which is the nearest to reach home. Number 9 inakuzungusha, unafika home. Sasa bia mziki. So unataka kuingia tu na mziki. Again, I wasn't interested in that. So this day I enter number 9 because it's the first whatever. So as I'm sitting there, I'm sitting next to this guy. He's like an Arabish guy. And he begins to speak this word that I am familiar with, the Castilian word. So now I begin, hey, okay. So we start talking and conversing and everything. And we ended up being such good friends. Right. So every time he would time me, kumbe that was his mat. Yeah, no. So every time he would time me, when I'm entering it, or sometimes when I miss it, I sit and I wait. Nastaki kwenda anywhere else. I just sit over there waiting for this matatu to come.
The matatu, the man.
It's a matatu. It's a matatu.
Right.
But we became such good friends. And then he's Muslim. He was being prepared to be our kaba passes.
Sheikhs.
Yes, that's why. He's being prepared for that. And then the next thing, we fall in love with each other. So now it's you go, I take you Fridays tuko mosque Jamia na kungojea. Niko hapo na majins zangu. Guys are so pissed off to see me there waiting for the upcoming sheikh nje. Upcoming sheikh is now coming out over there. It was so weird. But that is when I realized something happened. Something happened. Like I wasn't grounded. There's a part in the Bible, that says, when the foundation of the righteous are shaken, what will you do? Hey, me, they're not shaken. But the situation I found wrong with it. The next thing, it was weird. I did not surround myself with like-minded people, and I realized in high school, I was in a bubble. I knew I had my desk mate. I knew I had a responsibility of being in CU.
It's because you were watching.
And so Now I'm outside on my own.
No one to watch.
There's no one to watch.
Ah.
And now I'm in love with this Arab guy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then life I stopped reading the word. I just flew, just went with whatever it was.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before you need this became something. My identity was shaken.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now I go to Canada while we are still dating with this guy. Okay. And one day, those days we were Marura, and you wait for 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
And he wrote to me and asked me, would you change your religion for me? Hey, that was a question of the year for me. Because I was like, why would I? But while he's asking this, there was a possibility. I'd already thought of changing my name to Nasra because it's next to Nancy. So that somebody can say, Nasra, it's not going to be a shock. I'll be like, you know, I had sat down to think, even by my name, what comes close so that it's easy for me to adapt. You know, I already known I'm going to wear this whole thing. We're going to do this thing. Anyway, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But when he asked that question is when everything changed inside of me. And I wrote back and I said, no, I wouldn't. And then I said, would you? And he wrote back again. These are like months.
Yeah.
And he said, no. And that's when I knew we can't do this. Yeah.
But the fact that you said no means that there was some grounding.
I think so. I think when I look back, there must have been something. Maybe it was the reality of me exchanging my God with someone else. You know?
Yeah.
That's just because all this time we've been dating, I was okay to be his religion. I was okay.
Yeah.
But there's something about him asking this question that made me realize, we're exchanging. It's like, I have to do this.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah.
So you've mentioned Canada.
Yes.
You go to Canada immediately?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went, yes, immediately is maybe March, around March there. Yeah.
Is that the time that you were in the States for long and
Canada?
Yeah. Oh, you're in Canada for
first. I went to Canada.
First, you went to Canada.
Yes, and I went to Canada for one thing, not for education. Oh, my auntie was in a violent domestic violence, and her husband beat her up and was in a coma. Oh. So the Canadian government called the next of kin, who is my mom. And my mom, being a teacher, could not leave school because school has begun. Right. So she asked, can my daughter come? And they were like, is she over 18 years? Bring her. Wow. So I went to become a mother. That's another identity I took in because my niece was 3 years old. Right. So because they needed to put her in the system, they needed to know, according to their laws, you know, who will take care. So are you coming here to take her, to be with her, as the mom recovers and we begin to see the situation. Right. And so that's why I went. And I reached there and I became a mother. Wow. No plans I never had any plans to leave the country. Right. Never had plans to do. So now I went there and I took the identity of a mother in a foreign country. Right. My God. How was that? It was hard. Yeah. It was hard, but then again, because of the training of my siblings, it was easier to handle the mother part. Okay. But I think for me, the harder part now was all of a sudden, this child is looking unto me. Everything. Right. You know? Yeah. I'm having to learn how to operate the gas, how to operate everything. How it was something else. Yeah. Wow. Everything. I just had to I had to learn all this. Yeah. All these things. Yeah. So I took the identity of a mother. Right. So you were with her for 1 year. At 18 years. Oh. 18. Mm. So you were in Canada for 1 year? No. Specific. Oh no. Nope. Okay. Nope. I stayed in Canada for 4 years. Yes, 4 years. And I became so attached to this little girl that she would call me Mama and call her mom by her name. No. Yes. So now when the mom came out, my auntie came out from the hospital,
Right.
went through all this physiotherapy and all that stuff.
Right.
And so now the children, what do you
Social
call them?
services.
Social services, they actually said, no, if this is the identity the child has taken, let her continue having it. She'll ease it out as she grows.
Did she?
No, not really. And that became a conflict. Yeah, that became a conflict because it was always, mama, 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 and then turn to this one, Kanini, Kanini. I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
So that was something. It was, yeah.
So after that, did you go to uni immediately, or did you
Not
stay a bit?
immediately. So after like a year and a half
Right.
is when now I decided, you know what? Let me ease myself into the system of education now.
Right.
And so here I am with my little baby,
Yeah.
and I get into this course that I know is not like a. So I did a travel and tourism diploma course, just so that, because I wanted to be a flight attendant.
Okay.
I really wanted to be a flight attendant.
You have a face for it.
Oh,
you have it.
British Airways.
Come on.
I love the way they dressed. And I think that was me. I just wanted to be that.
Right.
So I start with this. At the same time, I'm learning. I've put a child in a daycare. And then after my classes, I go pick her up and we go home. You know? Yeah. So I was there until the mom recovered, and then we got into conflict. And I had to leave. I had to leave her home and go start my life, you know? And that was the hardest part. Because when I'm leaving, this little child, by that time, she was I think when I went there, 3, 4, 5, yeah, she's now 5 years old.
Right.
She couldn't understand the conflicts between. I remember there was one point, my auntie, we were quarreling,
Right.
and she raised her voice so hard.
Right.
We didn't realize that the little girl has gone upstairs and called 911. And this is what she said.
Yeah.
Kanini is beating my mom. And so now on the systems already, it's already known that this is a home for domestic. Yeah. So the cops are coming, they open the door, and we're like,
what's going on?
You know?
Yeah.
And in African culture, you can't report your relative.
Yeah.
So me, I'm just like, okay. And at that point, she had slapped me. So me, my yellowness, the cap was here.
With your redness.
So there's no denying to the cops.
Oh.
You know. So it was separation.
Right.
Everybody's been asked questions on the side.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on? And the baby is there saying her own version. And of course, they take the baby's version.
Of course.
Of this happens. Kanini does this to my mama. And oh my God. That's when I knew, with the help of a pastor friend, that it's time to leave. Yeah. So that was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
So she kept crying and saying, Mama, you're leaving me.
Yeah.
Mama, you're leaving me. And the taxi guy literally thought I'm abandoning my baby. Oh, wow. So the taxi guy is like, why would you abandon her?
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we go? Can we just go? Yeah. That was really the hardest thing for me. Yeah. Because I really took that title of being a mom.
Right. So what was your next identity?
My next identity was a youth leader in a church.
Yeah?
No, Canada.
Hey.
Canada.
Ah.
Yeah. And I got into this church, very huge, got into it, started serving as a youth. They elected me as a youth for the women.
Yeah.
And so we would meet every Wednesday with the pastor, so that me and my fellow leader, who was representing the guys, and we would meet every Wednesday to report to the pastor, say what's going on, pray together. The pastor gives us, whatever the advice we need.
Right.
Yeah. And I did that for a year, and until one day I do my normal thing of going to meet. It's a Wednesday. And for the first time, I hear a voice telling me, do not enter the bus. And this is the first time I've had a voice. I've never had voices.
Right.
So me, I'm thinking, that can be the devil. That is the devil. I am going. So I get into this bus. And as soon as we reach town, because that's where we would meet at YMCA, there's a mall there. my back of the hair would rose and say, do not come out of this bus. And I'm like, the devil, this is the devil. Because I knew there is no way it can be God.
Yeah.
So I got in there and find the man of God seated there. And I asked where my colleague is, which was not abnormal for him not to be there.
Of course.
Because sometimes I'm having exams and he's, available, or sometimes he has exams and I'm available. So, then the man of God tells me, God has been speaking to me and he says, you're my wife.
Hey.
And this is a 60-year-old man. I have no offense, 60, we're close there, but it's a 60-year-old man. And I stand there and I'm like, what? And he repeats it. And I say that, why hasn't God told me? And he says, God first tells me because I'm your authority.
Come on now. Oh,
and then I have to tell you. Hey!
That's already trouble.
And that's when I knew, no. But I'm still confused because I always truly believed that as well.
Right.
That the man of God is the man of God.
Yeah.
And so I go through this period where I am in doubt, wondering, is God really, why did God really speak to me then? And the following day was Sunday. So I tell him no. Of course I tell him no.
Yeah.
And the following day was Sunday.
Yeah.
And while we are in church, he calls my name. And so I stand up and then he says, come towards. So me, I go, which was, and as I'm walking, he gives the story. But this time around, he twists the story to, I'm the one who said that he's my husband. So yes, that was that right there. Ooh. And the names that he called me in front of the pulpit.
In front of everyone.
Yes. Yes. I don't think anyone likes being rejected.
Right.
And I don't think he took it lightly.
Clearly. Clearly.
And so that was my first time for God to actually remove my idol, because I idolized and I did not know, and to give me the difference, to make me know the difference between a man of God and a man. And that is why a lot of us go through church pain, because we enter church looking at men and women of God as perfection. This is mini God. Right. You're not allowed to fall short. You're not allowed to make mistakes. And then God, my mentor says, any idol you have, God will cause it to hurt you so that your focus remains on him. So that was my lesson number one, of knowing that this is a man with a calling, but my God, I went through a whole different thing. It changed my identity completely. Because that's when I told God, I can't deal with you. I can't deal with this script. And I took my Bible, locked it in my suitcase. Yes. And I told myself, now I need to know how to backslide. I need to backslide.
You were telling yourself you need to know how to backslide.
Yeah. I have to know how to backslide. Wow. I have never been to a club. I have never drunk. I've never smoked. But these are the things I knew are taking us away from God. So we're doing this. We are learning how to do all these things. Yeah.
So did you backslide?
Yes, I did. Oh. Yes. It was very conscious. I mean, at that time, my roommate was a 16-year-old, because I lived in a home.
Right.
So the 16-year-old used to love partying. And she was something else, very rebellious.
Yeah.
And so I went to her, and then her boyfriend, who happens to be like 3 years older than her, who was in campus at that time. In fact, it was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're like, what?
The guy's brother would come sometimes. And the guy's brother would say, you know me, I'm going to marry you. You know you, I'm going to date. And I'll be like, never. So what do I do? Part of my backsliding was very intentional. This is the guy. This one is one who will take me. This one is one who will make me backslide. Because he wasn't born again. And so he used to call me church girl. Ooh. So me, I knew this is it. We're going to backslide. Yeah. And so I go to him and I tell him, you know what? We can date. You always want to date me. We can date. Go. The guy looks at me like,
what changed? Yeah.
And while I'm going through this thing, the lady that I'm living with, was going to that same church. So she knew the whole story, of course.
Right.
But funny thing is, she never even bothered to ask my side of the story. She believed the pastor, you know. And so now there's also conflict there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did the rebellion end?
Rebellion ended as soon as I left Canada to the US. But even in the midst of the rebellion, God is so amazing. I look back, let me just tell you, we are a product of grace and mercy. We truly are. Even in those moments when we feel like we are departing from Him.
Right.
Because I remember in one incident, I'm with this guy, and I'm there saying how, I'm even going to the extent of knowing the worst sin that I know that can make me completely know I'm out of the favor of God is I have to sleep with this guy. So me, I'm there saying we have to sleep together.
Yeah.
And he's like, me, I don't want to sleep with you.
Yeah.
Me, I want to sleep with the church girl. This is all this one. You're in a phase, and this phase I am not dealing with you like
Very
that.
interesting. And this is a man who's in the world and he's thinking, no.
Let me tell you, that was the strangest thing that and I would get mad with him because I'm there thinking, no.
Yeah.
Me, I have an agenda.
Yeah.
You know?
Like we're backsliding.
We're backsliding.
Yeah.
So one day he tells me he's going with his boys to the strip club. Right. Then I'm like, 20. Well, again, this is the worst environment. So I know without a doubt.
Let's go here.
We are going here. So we go. Yeah. And I'm get in there and I'm so amazed at the things that I see. I am so amazed. I'm like, have you seen? The guy is like, Milo. And his friends are laughing at him. Because like, how did you bring your girl here? And he's like, and I'm like, oh my God, innocently, I'm amazed at what I'm saying. Wow. So this lady comes and she's dancing, right? And everyone is giving her $1, $5, whatever. Yeah. So she comes to where I am. She actually comes to him first and starts dancing, but he can't do anything. So the rest are laughing. Him, he's like, man, he's doing this. Like, and then she looks at me and she says, you don't belong here. Hey, wow. That is when I was like, and I remembered immediately she said that the verse that came was Psalms 139 that says, even when you put your bed in hell, I am there. I am there. Then I knew, I know. Yeah, like you're also here. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And he looked at me, my boyfriend then looked at me and he was like, I told you. Urudi tu kwa Yesu. Hata kama even people like this can say, Urudi tu kwa Yesu. You know? Yeah. So I went through this phase with him where I'm trying to run away from God. God is chasing you. God chased me. You know when this song says, Mercy said no. Mercy was like, not this one. Yeah. We are going to chase. So one day he's smoking a cigar, which he used to do once a year on Christmas. Me, I take it, I say, what even me? I didn't cough. My goodness, I coughed back. I didn't have the desire anymore to do anything else. And he told me it's because you did the wrong way. I said, I don't want to know that. I know, it's fine. But because the cough was so bad that it removed that. I tasted beer. It was so yucky. I even wondered why people like beer, like, you know. And he was like, okay, why don't we just taste wine? Yeah. You know? Yeah. I tasted wine. Yeah. He gave me the bitter. Me, I'm a sweet tongue. I was like, whatever, man. Fine. I can't do this. It's okay. I can't. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So everything that was happening, God was like saying no. Yet I was driving to do the very thing. So now by the time my mom says and pressured me, you need to go back to the US. I mean, not go back. You need to go to the US because my sister and my brother were there. That was when I was like, remember this time we've not talked to God. And this is now 2 years of dating this guy and doing life in Canada and just having this identity of rebellion, you know. Yeah. Then one day he told me, how about this? I can pick you up and we go to the nearest church because I can see you're missing it. Ooh. and then you sit there, then I'll come back and pick you up. And I said, okay. So I remember going the first church we got into, and this church is like 60s. People are old, great, silver foxes, you know?
Yeah.
And I get in here, and I was the only black young girl.
Wait.
Oh, so after that, though, of course, you know now you're the visitor, you're the attention, because everyone there is their ages. So they all come to me, what made you come here, sweetheart? Did you enjoy it? I'm like, yes, I did. I'm sure I did. I really did. Did you find this church? You know, and how was the service? Those are the two questions I was asked. And I told them, you know, we just drove it with my boyfriend. So the first church, and I got in. And they asked, why didn't he come with me? I said, of course. No, I don't know. And then they said, okay. Then they asked me, how was church? And I said, it was good.
Right.
And then they said, what was good about it?
Because it can just be good.
And then I said, I actually missed the word.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
You at this time?
This is me at 22. 22, 23.
Like that you missed the word.
I just missed it. I just missed it. Yeah, I really missed the word. Yeah.
So did you speak to them?
No.
You were like, okay,
I was ready. I was done. I was like, now I need to go, because I didn't want to get sucked into talking about my life with God.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And where those questions were going,
I know.
I knew it was a corner.
They were going to put you in a corner and you're going to crumble.
And I didn't want that. I didn't want to be vulnerable before God, because I knew if I start crying, I'll get you convicted. No, we're not doing this.
I know, and this ends this relationship today.
No. Right. So I left and I went, and that became my normal. Every Sunday, we'd look for the next church, the next church, and he would faithfully come and pick me up at the time where we were done. And so my mom pressures me, says you need to go to the US, and so I tell God I didn't want to. I was okay. I loved my life in Canada. I love Canada. By the way, I love Canada. So I really love Canada.
I hear it's better than the States.
I really love Canada. I love Baridi.
Okay.
Anytime. Baridi.
Okay.
So I feel like her pressuring is becoming annoying. And then because she wants to take me back to the identity that I had, and because she would say, go stay with them because they need a mother. Me, I'm like, I was done with that identity. You know, the minute I left I was gonna say her name, my cousin.
Right.
You know, I was done.
Right.
So one day after her nagging, one day I just went to the basement where my suitcase was. And I stood looking at that suitcase because I knew the minute I open it, my Bible is there. I stood looking at that suitcase for so long, and I opened it and I took my Bible and I said, God, tomorrow I'm going to the embassy of America. If you truly want me to go and you exist, I said, I don't want to be there more than 5 minutes. And I put back the Bible, closed, and I got up and I moved on with my life. Go to the embassy, I go with my boyfriend, and he says, let me go and wait for you. I'll make the line for you. When there are 3 people ahead, you can go and kulala kwa nini. Because we went early morning. Niko kwa gari, nimelala, then akaja. You're next. So I go, I stand on the line. Those days I never used to have all these restrictions. So when my turn comes, the guy who is there at the window says, Nancy Mwando. Mwando. So Nancy Mwando. I'm like, And then it's like, extreme weathers, Canada to Texas. I'm like, oh, really? He goes, oh, yeah. Have you been there? No. Welcome to America. No questions, no bank account, no sijui, who are you staying with? How are you staying it? So me, I am there like, oh my God. It's not because of the visa. Right. It's because of what prayer I made. And you see it. And I'm like, so I go back to the car. And he's looking at me as like, I'm so sorry, babe. You know, we can try this again. Me, I'm like,
It's not that. I
We're
got
coming in the
visa.
afternoon to get it. He's like, what? Why don't you lose one anywhere? Then I'm like, they didn't ask anything. They just
Yeah.
told me about extreme weather. And he was like, where? He actually said, you're meant to go there. So that was my first prayer. Now that I felt when I look back, it was like a seed that God needed to put in there. So that was seed number one. So now we're closing in to my trip to go to the US.
Yes.
And so I say, the day has arrived.
Right.
We have all this time. And I say, tell God, okay, if Steve, let me use his name, if Steve, God gives me a kiss, then I know I will see him again. If he doesn't, then I'll not see him again. Now, why that prayer was important is because Steve was what do you call it? He was more of a touchy person. He was the kind of person who would go to the mall and he would be like, excuse me, everybody. Oh. No. Excuse me, everybody. Then everybody turns, my girlfriend. Applause. That kind of person. So I know. So I knew this prayer where it was going.
Yeah.
And then I reached there at the airport with Fika. He takes me to the mlango of the plane. You know those days you could.
Yeah.
And right there, he hugs me and he says, I will not do anything other than this hug because it means I'll not see you again. 4 hours away. You're 4 hours away. See you. Have a safe trip. Call me when you land. And I watched him leave and I knew I will never see this guy again.
Yeah.
So even when I got into that plane, that was it. So I reached the United States of America. And the first thing that hits me is Joto. I was like, Wololo, this is exactly what I was told. What is this?
Yeah.
You know, Texas during summer is not a place to joke around. So I get in there and my siblings are not born again.
Right.
So it's party after party, house parties.
Let me tell you.
I would go to the club with them. They're like, come, brother, come, we go to the club. I'm like, remember, I'm still in my rebellious stage. But at the same time, there's a seed that has been planted, a second seed that is inside doing something I'm not aware of.
Exactly.
So we go to this club, and every time I go to the club, 5 minutes, I'm done, out. Why? The first time I went, nywele yangu, mimi sijui kama ni moshi, sijui ni nini?
Moshi ufanye.
Ni moshi? Okay, thank you. Moshi, nywele ikakuwa tu.
Moshi ufanye hivyo.
I'm like, after curling my hair like this, I left. I told my siblings, I'm out. I'm gone. Second time we go there again, my eyes I don't have tears. So they're dry. My eyes are dry usually at that time.
Right.
God did something.
Right.
So I go there again, moshi. My eyes are red, itchy. I'm like, I can't do this. Then while I'm there, outside trying to get fresh, my sister comes to me and says, Marura, every time, 5 minutes you're out, you can't keep doing this.
Right.
You can't keep doing this. And then I say, but the way I need somebody to take me home. And they're like, Marura, we can't keep. Me, I prefer the house parties because I was home. It was a controlled environment. As opposed to club.
The club,
So now they tell me, Marura, you cannot keep doing this. Then me, I'm like, why is that place so dark? Like, can't they just put light kidoko?
Bit of light.
Like, kwanini iko dark?
And I hear the clubs in the States are like that. That dark.
But they're so dark. Like, honestly. So me, I'm like, why is it dark? I can't go, I couldn't light.
Yeah.
Need to light
the dance floor.
So now, wait. I say, let me go home. So one guy volunteers, my brother's friend, and takes me home. On the way home, I said, is there a church around here? And he looks at me.
Those seeds were planted.
And I didn't know. So me, I'm like, he looks at me, he says, this is after 6 months of staying in the US. So this is not at immediately. So he says, which church do you want? Then he gives me options. Good Caribbean. So I said, then he said Kenyan. I said, Kenyan. Yeah. Okay, let me try that one. I'll be here in the morning. It starts at 10 o'clock. I'll take you. Sunday, mimi, watu wanaingia.
Wewe unatoka.
Mimi ndo natoka. And I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. Unaenda church? Bye. So I go to church and I sit here and the man of God is talking. And I'm looking at him and I'm listening to him, and everything about me is feeling like this is home, but I don't want to be here. I feel like the prodigal child. But this time around, I feel like you never wanted. Why did you allow me to go through that? So now, church is removing what I had kept inside. I'm beginning to go back to why God allowed the pastor to do what he did, to shame me, call me, but then he called me Jezebel in front of the whole church. So this is a name I learned at 21, 20-year-old, and I didn't know what Jezebel is.
Yeah.
And so now I'm beginning to feel this thing of why, you know. And the pastor does something very weird. He comes and kneels down in front of me. Kneels. He was so dramatic. And he goes like, on behalf of the pastor that hurt you. Wait.
Right.
Hapo ndio nikasema hapa. I am
Nitoeni
here
hapa.
to say I'm sorry. I said, can you stand up? Can you stand up? Can you stand up? I said, can you stand up? And he said, no. I just want to apologize for the pain. Mimi niko hapo. I am not ready to forgive.
Right.
And I'm looking at him, and he got up and he went back and he's talking. I just got up and left, you know?
Yeah.
So I began slowly by slowly coming to church, and slowly by slowly, he never approached me like that again. But he now did a one-on-one. He would tell the guys call. And then that's where now I met my husband, and it was more of, it was a youth thing where people were meeting in the afternoon. And so he comes there to introductions. And I remember he asked me one question. It was find 10 things, I don't know the number, I can't remember, about this person, because when you're called, you have to say those things. So he tells me, that MC is my friend. He will call me. So please, just tell me about you quickly, because I know I'll be called. So I told him, my name is Marura. We are 6 of us in the family, and I don't want anything to do about God. He was, that's number 3. Atijafika your 10, and already his face is taken aback, like, whoa, you know? And I think in his mind, he must have put a pin on, I'm going to come back there, you know? And I'm like, I just came from Canada, and I love Canada. I hate this weather of yours in Houston. And then I keep going to all these things. And sure enough, he got called. And so he gives all those things. He doesn't say about the one that I had said. So he doesn't say that one. And then we meet the following Sunday again. So now, because I'm a newbie, but now we had kind of known each other, he came to me, said hi. And then he asked me, if you don't mind, can I be calling you, and I can tell you maybe about God and what I've learned in my quiet time. He sized me up, I must say, because he probably, because he didn't know my story, he probably thought that I didn't know God. You know? And so every time he would call me every evening, he gives me this brief of what he has learned. In my head, I'm just like, okay. I would roll my eyes when he's saying something about God and how much, I don't know what he learned. And then, so one day, we went for dinner, and then he asked me, if you die today, where are you going? And then I said, hell, there's no back door to heaven.
You didn't even flinch.
I didn't flinch. And the minute I said it, the reality dawned to me. Like, I'm going to hell. Marura, you're going to hell. And I actually said there's no back door to heaven. And I broke down crying in this restaurant.
Wow.
I remember there were cops having
so they were thinking,
so they all turned to look at him, and him is just like, sasa nafikiria nimefanya kitu. Because that time I'm like, wait, I can't. That reality of I'm going to hell hit me like a brick on my stomach. It wasn't, and the way I said it so casually. So So we just packed our food quickly. We went to the car. And while in the car, he said, "Can I lead you to Christ?" And I remember saying, "Give me a minute. Let me have a conversation with God first."
Yeah.
And I said, "Father, I remember," because now what I didn't say is when the man of God said what he said, and I was now rebelling. What I said when I was putting my Bible in my suitcase was, the same way I invited you in my life, I am telling you to leave. No, nothing. We're not making a party out of this. The same confession of believing is the same confession of you out. When I look back, that was a big thing. I mean, you can imagine how the enemy must have rejoiced. And how also at the same time, mercies of God just covered me. So I'm back here now in this car, and I say to God, I'm so sorry for the things that I said. And I said, and you know what, God, before I make this prayer, I need you to take over my life. And I need you to show me who you are. Just show me. Because I just seem to have lost something somewhere. And then I turned to Dawn and I just say, I'm ready. And he led me to Christ. And from there, I became very intentional now in knowing who God is. I know.
That was intense.
It was.
That was intense.
Yeah.
So how did your walk with God begin? Did the rebellion end immediately, or did you have after now that night?
I fought with it in when the man of God or any person would minister and they would touch that area in me, I would fight. I'm like, you know, the rolling the eye, the getting out of the church in the middle of service and going to get fresh air was something that God was dealing with me that I didn't want to face, you know. And one of the things I've realized is patterns, you know, having grown up when I was raped at a young age and then go through this spiritual, so this is a physical abuse at 8, and then spiritual, maybe if I call it abuse or wound, let's call it wounds.
Yeah, wounds.
Wound.
Yeah.
And then now I'm at this space of, and then now my auntie, which was verbal abuse, you know, I'm feeling like every time the man of God would talk about Jesus loves you, you've gone through abuse. Hey, I'm like, can we talk about anything else? But don't, because where was he when I was being raped? Where was he when I was being verbally abused by my auntie? Where was he? Even physically abused, you know? Where was he when spiritually this man, he allowed the man of God to do what he do, say lies in front of the pulpit and not have even one person in church believe in me, you know? So every time that topic came, I would switch off completely.
So when was the turnaround?
The turnaround came when I think maybe just spending time with God. The more I spent a personal, just that quiet time. That quiet time is important.
Is amazing.
That quiet time is where you get to know God for real.
Yeah.
That is when I began to know him like one-on-one, you know? And I would hear things like, you're the apple of my eye.
Oof.
And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And then I do my own research of what does the apple of the eye mean, you know? And beginning to, and then another verse that I would stumble upon is, he rejoices over you with singing and gladness. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the other one for, you know, I have redeemed you, you are mine.
You're mine.
And I'm like, wow, you know, those words, it's like God was talking to me on a personal level, you know, and I found out I'm that special to God.
Yeah.
Like he really, really loves me. That's when now,
would you say
slowly by slowly.
Would you say that's also where you got to understand your identity?
I discovered that I was when there's a verse in the Bible that says that he created me so that he can display his glory. And that's when I began to start really asking God, display your glory in my life. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
Now I look
Now
back and I'm like, okay, Marura, well, could have been ulijitakia. But it just sounded so poetic,
Right,
nice.
I know.
Like display your power, display your glory.
See you now.
Hey,
See you now.
do you know what the cost of that
Right.
is something else?
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So you were in the States for how long?
States was what, 5 years, 6 years? Yeah. Yeah.
So you come back to Kenya.
I come back to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How does your work look like?
Hey? Different culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
My culture shock was actually
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was weird because I never thought coming home I'd get culture shock.
Right.
You get culture shock when you're in another country.
Yeah.
But I come here and I'm like, Allah, okay, this is how people behave. Okay.
Oh,
you know,
gosh.
customer service.
Yeah.
No, there was no politeness. Everybody just is rude.
Yeah.
You're wondering why people rude.
What is it?
What is going on?
Yeah.
And then we begin a church.
Hey. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a journey.
That
was something else.
Yeah.
You ask me if I would do that again.
Yeah.
Like be part of saying yes.
Yeah.
Reverend Julia and I wouldn't. Because
right.
The Marura you see now is a result of the fire of having to go through an identity of being a leader of church, and then you end up being a pastor, and you have imposter syndrome from the very get-go.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're also struggling with your own things.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. So it's been the identity of having to wear the identity of a wife.
Right.
You know?
Right.
The identity of an elder in church. The identity of being a mother.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And also the identity of being a friend. And actually discovering that a lot of people who were hanging around me were just hanging around me because of the identity of that. But they didn't Marura.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
And that was really tough to know. Yeah.
So, as we conclude, how has your love walk been from when you started church? Like, how has God taught you to love people unconditionally?
Hey, how are you going there? That's another episode. Hey, oh Jesus. Hey.
As I said, as we conclude,
this is not a conclusion. This one should have been the middle. Wait.
Right.
You cannot love people on your own. You need the agape love.
Right.
You need him
to
teach you how to love people. Because truly speaking, I'm beginning to learn now that all sufficiency comes from him. All, including loving people.
Right.
And it's been such, and why this is so personal to me is because I have lost friends who I thought were my ride and die. You know? And people walking away from you. Why are you walking away from me? Am I that bad? You know? Because immediately they walked away, it made me realize, it's like they made me open my eyes to see I'm that bad. Like kuna kitu I'm that nimefanya. Like it's that bad that you can walk away from me. And going through the pain of betrayal, the pain of feeling like you're not worthy of being someone's friend, you know? And this person has made you feel like you have fallen short of, you know, the things you hear pastors talk, and they say, when you reach a certain place in your life, the seasons, you leave your friends, and it just sounds so nice. It just sounds like
it's really not so nice.
It's not nice.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Because what if they leave you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's tough. And I'll tell you what I discovered.
Right.
It's really tough when it's a girlfriend. And when it's a boyfriend. That one you can moan, go.
Yeah, and
you have girlfriends who will push you and say, dust yourself off, girl. There's another one.
Yeah,
girlfriend. It's like a stab that goes deep inside.
Deep, yeah.
And then God now tells you, love them. Hey,
pray for them.
Pray for them. It's not an easy thing. Truly speaking, it's not. And for my walk with God, I have come to realize that I need Christ in every area of my life. Yeah.
Yes.
And truly speaking, to love someone, I've found myself lately asking God sincerely for his agape love, for me to love this person, especially in my life right now, where there is a person that I just truly need his love, God's love, to love them. So it's not easy. Not on your own.
Not on your own.
Because we're human beings. We remember the pain.
Yeah.
We remember the betrayal. And even if the Bible says, forget the former things, I am doing a new thing. Ni kweli. Lakini, you need him to forget the former things.
I agree.
You need him.
You really
and
do.
you need to be intentional in saying, I need to be your daughter. I am your daughter, Lord. And I am an ambassador, as you put it. I want to represent you. But Lord, this situation right here, I need you to help me do that.
So I'd like you to look into the camera and speak to that lady who's speak to her, encourage her.
Just the lady.
Yeah. Even the men actually.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Even
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Wow. I don't know what area and what season you are in right now as you're watching this, but I want you to know that it's not a coincidence that you left your phone, scrolled, and came to this page. It's not a coincidence. And the reason I say it's not a coincidence is because God never makes mistakes. So where you are, it's not a mistake. But I can tell you, on the other side of where you are is going to be a woman and a man that God has peeled, an onion, and God is peeling a lot of that which shouldn't define you. In you, inside you, is a greater person. The Bible says, it is no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in us. And so when Christ begins to reveal himself in our lives, there's certain things, this onion needs to come out. And I'm sorry, it's painful. It is. But nobody is an exception to that pain, especially in the journey of Christ. But the one thing I want you to know is that when you hold on to God, when you believe in God, when you surrender yourself to God, I mean, you can ask me, Pastor, how does that look like? How does surrender look like in the midst of pain? How does surrender look like in the midst of this identity crisis that I'm having? It is a knowing that without him, we are nothing. That even this Marura who is talking to you right now, without Christ, I'm nothing. And it is owning who you are, that with my mistakes and with the strength that God has given me, there's a backing behind you. I love that song that says, I walk with God the Father. You walk with God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Mercy follows you. Goodness follows you. Those three people, those three beings make you who you will be. So trust in him, believe in him, reach out. I don't know if my number will be put here. I don't know, but reach out to someone who will help you. But just to let you know, both of you, man and a woman, both of you listening to me, you're not alone. But God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, and above. God bless you. See you on the other side. There you have it, guys. I have nothing more to add to that. See you in the next one.